Hauk?
Here.
Ms. McDermott?
Here.
Mr. Perry?
Here.
Ms. Radel?
Here.
Ms. Sedman? Ms. Sedman? Mr. Shi?
Present.
Urban?
Here. Here.
Mr. Vogt?
Here.
Mr. Haas?
Here.
Ms. Sedman?
Here.
Mr. McGinley?
Present.
All present.
Additions or deletions from the work session agenda? Motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved, Linda.
Ms. Hauk, do we have a second for Ms. Hauk?
Second, Urban.
Mr. Urban? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstentions? None heard. Motion carries. Mr. Pedro, you have the floor, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. McGinley and County Council. Believe it or not, this is now the 6th State of the County that I've been honored to give this County Council. And I think back to where we were in 2015 and 2016 when I first started doing these as to where we are now. And through a lot of the hard work of this County Council done in the County Council chambers and now done via Zoom, it continually shows that Luzerne County is moving forward thanks to dedication, your hard work, and us working together with cooperation. So I'm going to share my screen here, and we're going to try to get through some of the PowerPoint. You'll see the PowerPoint on the website tomorrow. Go to the County Manager page. The entire presentation will be up there along with my other presentations that I've given in the past as well. Okay, so the State of the County, February 23rd, 2021. Can't talk about 2020 without talking about COVID-19. Obviously, it's changed all of our lives. I think, you know, I shared that video of our tourism director, Teddy Wampel, the other day, that he was interviewed by WBRE. I did that because I think I want to try to show to people that we still need to remain vigilant here in Luzerne County. We still need to remain vigilant with all we're trying to do. I have been just as ready as everybody else to move forward with getting this virus behind us. And I think we are taking huge steps on that. But we need to remain vigilant as we pass through to the vaccination side of things. We still have to wash hands, sanitize, keep social distancing, and vaccinate per Department of Health guidelines. We are still in phase 1A right now for the vaccination policies. And, you know, county employees are in 1C, I believe. Some people are in 1A depending on your medical status or your age. If you are in 1A, please move forward with that vaccination as best you possibly can, as soon as you possibly can. So what do we do for the pandemic? I mean, obviously we started the crisis management team, and the people on this council were gracious enough to help us serve for those things. We had consistent virtual meetings with the Department of Health, consistent with our healthcare providers. We had those 2 test sites at the Mohegan Sun Arena and at the Mohegan Sun Casino, where over 2,000 people were tested at those sites. That was a big win for the area to have people have a testing when nobody was else getting testing. So I want to thank Tom McGrarty from the Department of Health for his hard work getting us those sites brought here to Luzerne County, as well as the Department of Health overall, to make sure that the Luzerne County residents are going to be tested properly. Now that we're through a lot of testing is rarely available. We're going to be ready now to proceed with the vaccination when the vaccination is ready to proceed. Obviously, we provided personal protection equipment, created a page on the county website, secured hotels for our first responders thanks to our friends of the Woodlands, Wilkes-Barre Courtyard, and Marriott. And we created a Luzerne County website where the businesses will have all the information. Some of the biggest stuff that we did was able to distribute over $10 million in CARES funding to small businesses and nonprofits. And we distributed millions of CARES funding to municipalities, school districts, ticketed venues, youth sports organizations, and the libraries to help them address the pandemic. As you are aware, you can go into the website and see where every dollar of the CARES funding was spent. Had to all be spent by December 30th of 2020, which it was. So we had to make a lot of changes in 2020 with regard to technological advances. Everything moved remote. and we transitioned our staff to the remote workforce, we received over 392 texts to 911 in 2020. We upgraded 285 workstations. We implemented added level of security. We learned from the cyber attack, and County Council obviously supported us in those endeavors. Mark Rakovich and his team launched an inmate tablet video visitation program in December for the Luzerne County Correctional Facility, which is truly an interesting idea. And, a big swing was bringing these 3 new video court locations to the main correctional facility. So really what was happening in the past was we'd have to bring a prisoner over. All those individuals would have to come back and forth. But now for social distancing purposes, we can do video court actually in the correctional facility. And so I want to say thank you to Mark Rakovich, his team, as well as Paul Heinmarsh and President Judge Vogue and his team as well for really making the changes to fully integrate the video system into the Luzerne County criminal process. We completed a countywide camera project with our sheriff's department. So this way we have one location for all of our counties for security purposes. As you know, those counties are needed for a whole bunch of different issues. Most importantly, things like, the Phil Finn case where we had a firebombing of children and youth. And those issues that we had won't need to be addressed again thanks to this project. The GIS portal, this is something that got lost in the shuffle, I think, throughout the entire process. Dan Reese launched a subscription-based GIS portal to provide enhanced mapping to the GIS department. I don't get a lot of compliments on GIS when I'm out and about, but I got stopped by a realtor the other day, and he said just how impressive this GIS portal has been doing and how easy it is for him to run his business now with this GIS portal. So kudos to Dan Reese and his team as well for getting that off the ground. And if you haven't seen it yet, please take the opportunity to do so. And we talked about the full body scanner at the prison as well. That's a new implementation that we are now have there to make sure there's no drugs and anything coming into the Luzerne County Correctional Facility. Looking at the budget right now, current cash balance as of February 8th, 2021, $22,497,836. Our debt service as of December 31st is $250,948,300 we are on track to pay off the debt for 2030. I have often joked that that's the council you want to be on. So if I were you, I would think about your term limits so that you can address it around 2030, because at that point, Luzerne County should be out of debt completely. And you'll have some very good decisions to make regarding what to do with the extra money in the budget and potentially cutting taxes to the citizens. Looking at the audit update as well, the county hard close was February 12th. Area Agency on Aging, the report was issued on December 11th. Drug and alcohol, we have a draft report. MHGS will be providing a report by February 19th. And children and youth, the field work has already started. So what are we going to be doing in 2021? I have 4 major priorities for 2021. The first is the Now One Digital project. We will move the Now One Digital project over to be fully integrated by the end of this year. That has been the goal from the beginning. County Council has supported that project. Public Service has supported that project. If you remember, all the firefighters and the police departments coming to County Council for when we were talking about that project. We're now at the process now where we are about to begin that entire changeover. I think Fred Rosencrantz and his team is coming to present to County Council at some meeting. I think it's in March, Mr. McGinley, or was it in April?
Yes.
But they'll be here to present to you within the next couple of months to talk about where they're going with the digital project and what's the next steps. The continuing capital improvements, including roads and bridges. Obviously, County Council has made some huge dents into the roads and bridges. The issues that we've had here for years and years. We changed over from the little bit of blacktop over top of a road and really trying to fix it down to the bottom. And the bridges were, as council's aware, we had some major issues with over 300 bridges that we have here in Luzerne County. Those had to be addressed. We're going to continue these online customer service upgrades as we move forward in 2021. Let's be honest, even when this pandemic is over, people are going to be slow to be coming out here. So what's the best way for people to have an online customer service here in the county, paying their bills, obviously doing things like the Skype hearings now that we're doing in Register of Wills. All of these things are now going to be becoming more commonplace. Even when this pandemic is over, I think we're going to fully integrate the things we've learned in 2020 about the social distancing side of things, about the remote workforce, and we're going to be able to fully upgrade a lot of customer services here in Luzerne County. And finally, I think the most important thing that we're going to be doing in 2021 is Lucy Morgan, the EMA team, is the assistance and support to the county medical providers and the Pennsylvania Department of Health for pandemic-related matters. When the Department of Health is ready to pull the trigger and say that we have a mass vaccination site in Luzerne County or something along those lines, we want to be there to support them. We want to be there throughout the entire process. They have been a key partner to us throughout the entire pandemic. As I said, Tom McGrady and his team have been a constant phone call away for Lucy Morgan and the EMA team. Lucy Morgan, her team is up is heading all pandemic-related matters. And Brian Sumsky and the sheriffs, they hate it when I call because there's a lot of stuff that goes on these issues. And every time I turn around, we're doing something else with the sheriffs. But they were there. They will be happy to support traffic control or anything else that we would need to make sure that our people have what they do. So our medical providers here in Luzerne County have been truly impressive. Geisinger, Lehigh Valley, Commonwealth Health, just to name a couple, as well as our pharmacies, getting this information out there and getting our testing out. So that's where we're going in 2021. I talked about my 4 pillars of governance numerous times. So let's go through some of the bridges that we completed in 2020. I'll go through some of these pretty quick. This is the Karshner Group, Karshner Road in Nescopeck Township. There's your pre-construction and post-construction. Larry Plesh and his team have been doing a great job in finalizing a lot of these bridge projects and really getting them done. Everett's Road in Huntington Township. This was funded by the Act 13 bridge funding. You'll see this was a wood plank bridge here in Huntington Township, and you can now see this fully been upgraded up to a modern standards and safe and secure for people to drive over. Looking at the Honey Hole Road in Butler Township, these were 3 different types of bridges completed by the Don E. Bauer Inc. Construction, and it was funded by a CGBD grant. And you'll see the 3 of them here. This is the pre-construction and post. As you can see, Larry Plesh and his team have been very busy about this process. Here's a road that was completed. The design was by A&E Group, Orange Road in Franklin Township. This is one that I drove on when I first became county manager in 2016 with Dave Parsnick, and I think we needed chiropractic care after driving on this thing. So we're happy to get this one moving for the citizens of Franklin Township. Here's St. John's Road in Butler and Dorrance Township, Liquid Fuels Fund, pre-construction, post-construction. And this one is in Sugarloaf Township, West County Road, that was completed pre-construction and post. Main Road in Ross Township, another one that was always a constant set of phone calls that now you'll see the post-construction is obviously looking much better now. Here's St. Mary Road in Hollenbach and Dorrance. And, and then I go into the division reports. We talk about all the things that we've done throughout the year, and I'm not going to, tie everybody up here with that. So what I'll do is stop my sharing content here. And I will go back to just going over a couple of different highlights that I have here in Luzerne County with regard to the divisions that we have. Budget and Finance Division hit the lowest rate in the over a decade with our TRAN, saving over $150,000, and that's due to council's hard work to make sure that we're able to make the right financial decisions. The lowest interest rate in over a decade we got for our TRAN. That shows that we're doing things and they're moving in the right direction. Mark Rakovich and the LCCF team did some really impressive things over there. And one of the things that he did was moved all of their training in-house. So the corrections officers used to have to go down to Elizabethtown, where we would have to pay to put them up in a hotel to make sure that they're educated there and follow through with everything they have to get done. Now Mark has brought all of that in-house, where our team can actually do the whole training right here in Luzerne County, saving taxpayers money. So Mark Rakovich has really taken the next step for what we've been doing in the correctional facility. Human Services, Lynn Hill, her team, as always, is doing amazing things. Mary Roselle in Aging, she's doing Zoom exercise classes for the seniors, making sure that these seniors have meals at the senior centers that had to be closed. Our drug and alcohol team, headed up by Ryan Hogan, has completed a warm handoff. And this is something I know that Mr. Vogue and the County Cares Commission was talking about, but this warm handoff program is really impressive. And we now have it all set up for all 4 of the emergency room departments in Luzerne County, thanks to Ryan Hogan and his team. And Mr. Spagnola in Veterans, Veterans Affairs just keeps on plugging. You don't even think that they're there half the time, but they just keep serving the public. We have over $4.5 million in benefits going to county vets that came from Mr. Spagnola's team over at the Veterans Affairs. Our Sheriff's Department had to deal with 6 presidential campaign stops, 2 testing sites, public gathering, a real kind of pain in the butt county manager as well. But Brian Sumsky, his team has been truly impressive. The coroner's office, you've seen, and we talked about this during the budget process, the incredible amount of change that he's had in the coroner's office. There were 2,066 death incidents in 2020. That's an increase of over 794 for 2019, as well as 807 more cremations that were completed in 2020. And building and grounds, I can't say enough about building and grounds for what they've done here at the facility, cleaning, sanitizing, making sure everything was up to date here always at the courthouse and other buildings. And as well, I can't say enough about Lucy Morgan and her team as we move forward with the pandemic. So that's my entire presentation for tonight. Thank you all for your time. You'll see the entire presentation. It goes a little more in depth into the divisions that we have, and that'll be on the website for you. So with that being said, I want to thank you for your time, and here's looking forward to a good 2021.
Thank you. Questions?
Yes, Mr. McGinley.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Pedri, do you think there's any way in the very near future that we could figure out some way to eliminate credit card fees for people who pay their bills in the county through either their taxes, or is some way we could waive or get our bank to give that consideration to not charge us a credit card fee, or some way the council can put money aside to pay that fee for people to try and take that 3% burden off of people in the future? I know that's been a goal that I know we worked on when Mr. Lawton was here, that he was going to get RFPs for banking and then get that service provided to the people of the county. So is that something that's still on the radar in your
Yeah, I'm interested. I'm very interested in doing that. We started that. Obviously, we waived a bunch of the fees for the treasurer's office when we were closed during the March-April side of things. I'll take a look at that with Ms. Beers as well, let council know, because we would have to allocate some money in the budget that it won't be revenue coming in for that, obviously, because we do budget for a portion of that. But that should be. I'll let you make a decision as to what you want to do with that.
Yeah, I don't want to, I don't want to put you on the spot to say, but if you could take a shot at how much money we charge over a year. I don't know if it's a lot of money, but I think it's substantial for sure. How much money we would have to put aside from either council reserve to offset that cost for the people. Do you have an idea what that cost is that we?
I don't think it's very much.
I don't think.
I would say less than 10 grand.
Yeah. So I mean, that might be something, some way that we can consider. Whatever the credit card company's charging us, that we could budget that money, and then the people could do that service for free. Ideally, it'd be nice to get the bank to just waive that fee for us, but I know that's a heavy lift.
Okay. Very good. Mr. Swets, are you going to do the budget reports?
Yes, Chair McGinley. I'm going to start with the council questions update, and then I'll go through the other reports.
Okay.
So one question that was asked at the last meeting was about the reserve fund by Ms. Hauk. The reserve fund at the end of the last audit, the 2019 completed audit, was a little bit shy of 9.7 million. At that time for that budget, it was a little over 7%. Using the 2021 budget, that same amount would be 6.27%. The county policy is to have 5% of the budgeted amount in the unassigned column. So basically what we did tonight was when we put money into another fund, that's assigned money. Unassigned means it's not assigned anywhere. So, the things we voted on is assigned. So basically, if we were to finish 2020 with $472,000, we, on day-to-day operations, would be in a negative because council assigned that for the cyber attack. So we'd have to be above 2.5 million before we got to unassigned dollars. So currently, again, as the last audited number, we were $2 million over that threshold. However, just to give an idea, Government Finance Officers Association of PA recommends 2 months of operating surplus, of operating budget as unassigned, which would be 25.7 million. And if you take 25.7 million minus the 9.7 that we have, you're very close, and it's a little bit of coincidence, it wouldn't work out exactly, to the $16 million that we take as a TRAN. So that's one of the things where these recommendations to have unassigned fund balance lowers the need for a TRAN in the future. The second one, I'll kind of breeze through because we tabled it. I don't want to rehash it when we're gonna vote on it. Actually, we postponed it, but it talks about the borrowing from November 2019. So it was in this packet. It was in last week's packet. It was in a packet in 2020. It's been discussed multiple times, but we do agree that it needs to be correct. So we'll listen to the tapes and find out what was said. The third thing was about, from the last meeting, was about the CTCL grant. That grant was applied for by purchasing and signed off in September of 2020. The grant amount was $173,236. I believe the committee report said around $200,000, so I'm just letting everyone know, the exact amount of the check. In November 2020, that money was received and deposited. The county administration spent approximately $103,135, and that was the email the manager had sent with the information that Budget and Finance had prepared. I think we said in that email that obviously, since the CARES was a larger pot of money, even though they had similar deadlines, the priority was to get the CARES funding spent. When this report was filed, a 6-month extension was put in for the $70,101 remaining. At this point, we haven't been told whether we got it or not, but that's where we're at with the $173,000 that was received, and we spent $103,000. I think the other question that came up at the last meeting was related to budget amendments. We talked about a budget amendment we did today for the ERA fund. There's going to be more budget amendments that we'll have in front of you for hospitality grant and some other things. Once these are signed off and the money is received, council will be emailed, and we'll make sure that we have everything ready for you for the public hearings to have the funds set up moving forward. But this was, because this actually came in November 2020, I don't think since I've been division head that any time something happened that late in the year, we've ever amended a budget. Not saying it's right, wrong, or indifferent, just stating the facts that if we got money in November to amend a 2020 budget in November, when council is currently in negotiations for the 2021 budget, we've never done it. Again, I'm not going to get into the charter. I'll let the Office of Law do that. But that was one of the things that absolutely, just like the ERA grant or any of these other things, in prior years, the district attorney got extra money, obviously not COVID related. We've always come to council if we got something in the first or second quarter of the year. But if we were to receive something in November, December, I don't know what the point would be from an accounting side of amending a budget when the year's almost complete. So I think that was it for the council-related questions from last time. I have, obviously, the individual reports, and they're in your packet. The January report, obviously, at that time, the year wasn't closed. As the manager stated, we just did that on February 12th. We're working towards getting 2020 closed, information ready for the auditors, and getting 2021 started. As you're also aware, some of the things, including taxes, have like a 60-day period. I've mentioned before that we are not cash basis. So again, until these tax bills went out, any money that was received still goes back to last year. So we're also in the process of doing that. So you have your in the packet the accounts payable outstanding list, the bank accounts, and that's really all I have, except for any questions that I can answer today.
Questions for Mr. Swets?
Mr. McGinley?
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Swets, thank you for addressing that question about the budget transfer for the amending the budget for the CTCL grant money. And I understand what you were saying, that we didn't receive the money until November the 4th. However, I don't think anybody from council even would know that we got the CTCL money at all, had Harry Hawes or Walter Griffith not brought the subject up at all, because we had no idea that that grant even came into the county. And the only reason we knew it was because we brought it up at a council meeting. So maybe we need to make an amendment to the administrative code that says any income that comes in has to be amended. If it's outside of the budget, it needs to be amended, because the whole issue with coming to council to tell us to amend the budget for additional revenues is so then we can put the additional expenditures in with that revenue. We had no idea that the grant came in, and we had no idea how you were going to apply that money. And as council, that's part of what we're supposed to do. So that's the concern that I had with the budget transfer. And I understand what you're saying, that, you know, we never amended a budget back in September, October, November for monies that came in, but that doesn't mean it's not the right thing to do. And I agree with you. That's a horse for another race. But I think that the bottom line of this whole concern here was that council had no idea that we even got the grant. We didn't even know we applied for the grant. We had no idea until I raised the question with Harry at a council meeting, and then we got the information. So that's the concern that we had. And had we done a budget amendment, all of council would have known it on the front end. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes, this is Linda. I just have a question. We just amended the 2020 budget, Brian. So to say that if we received the money late in the year, we wouldn't amend the 2020 budget, I believe that's just exactly what we did, and it's 2021, but we amended the 2020 budget. Am I correct?
I would say that we assigned the 2020 budget, and I understand what the agenda submittal and the ordinance say, because again, as I stated before, we're assigning money to put in one pot. We can't, and we knew this going forward, we can't go back and pay a bill today for something for 2020. What we're saying is, between the first two things, the $475,000 and the $2 million, that the first $2.5 million that the county would make of profit, that's already assigned to these two projects. So we'd have to be above $2.5 million to be assigned. The budget amendment, I would say, is more, again, like when we did something for the DA, and I would agree with Mr. Griffith that that's where we spell out the revenue and expenses. That's what we did with the ERA today, where we have revenue and expenses. Those are done in the current year. I understand what the submittal and what the ordinance says, but from an accounting side, I would say they're two separate things. I agree it is 2020 money, but it's more assigning something than changing the budget.
But this is exactly what I asked at the last meeting, because I wanted to be clear about what we were amending, because there was an idea that we were amending the 2021 budget, but the actual ordinances and the agenda submittal said 2020. So which budget did we amend?
You assigned $2020
To?
You assigned $2020 from unassigned fund balance to those specific pots of money. You assign the money to capital for the first one, and you assign the money for the second one to the reserve fund.
No, the capital one is amending the 2021 capital budget. But within the other budget amendments, which budget did we amend? We amended the 2020 budget, correct?
We assigned the 2020 budget, and the reason that I didn't give the GL account is because when we tried to do this for the 2019 ordinance for the $3 million, if you remember, council had the $3 million, our auditors at the time said, no, budget and finance cannot directly charge fund balance. So what you did was put money in 2020 fund balance, that said anything up until that amount is now assigned.
In the 2020 budget.
Correct. But you
Thank you.
didn't add, you didn't amend, meaning add additional revenue and expense. You basically said, when we get this money in, which we already received, this money's going for a specific purpose.
Right, which is an amendment. It's a change. An amendment is a change. Okay. All right, thank you.
I think you're right, Ms. Huck. Actually, I think our item on the agenda said 2021 budget, and I think you brought up the point about what budget was it year, what budget year was it, 2020 or 2021? And I think the outcome of that was 2020, which is
Right.
what we did tonight. So I think
Right.
you're correct with the statements. So, okay, thank you, Mr. Swets. Moving down to number 3, discussion regarding a resolution authorizing the county manager to amend and extend the lease agreement between Luzerne County and the United States government for the marine facility located at 1118 Wyoming Avenue, Wyoming, PA. Ms. Corcomo, you're going to speak to this, or someone?
Yes, this is, we received what's noted on page, I believe, 67 from the government, the amendment of solicitation, modification of contract. If you look at number 14, that's the description of amendment and modification. So we are asking council to approve that, and so that the county manager can sign that amendment and modification.
Questions for Ms. Corcomo?
Mr. McGinley?
Yes, go ahead.
So, Ms. Crocomole, I guess the question I have is, what the term takes us to 30 September 2021. Is that correct?
Correct, and that's in the original. This is, we decided to bring it before council, obviously, because it's a lease, and the federal government deemed it to be a modification and amendment to the original contract.
Are we going to have to adopt another lease for them after September?
No,
So are they leaving then in September?
no, they're we did not get notice that they're leaving.
Okay, so I'm confused. Do we have another contract in place that we're going to do then from after September, or how does that work?
Well, this is modifying the original. The federal government is making on this document is saying that there's a modification and amendment of the original lease. And the original lease, if you look at the agenda submittal and the attachments, I think goes through 2023.
Oh, okay. I didn't look at the submittal. Thank you for helping out with that.
No,
Yep.
that's fine. That's fine. It's just that, this is a lease agreement. There's an amendment, and council has the authority to approve and disapprove.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Moving down to number 4, discussion regarding the resolution authorizing the county manager to execute a sale of county-owned property in Hollenbeck Township to Frank V. DeAndrea Jr. This has been an ongoing situation for several months. The real estate committee, Ms. McDermott, your group met on as part of your agenda to discuss this. You want to speak to this?
Yes, but did Ms. Corcoran want to say something?
I mean, I just wanted to, Mr. McGinley basically gave an overview. This is a private sale of a piece of property to Frank DeAndrea. He initially put the bid in, it had to be last year, and council did give approval for him to advertise. He did advertise. There were no other bids. Councilwoman McDermott will probably speak to this. There was no appraisal done. However, at this point, I recommended and I asked Ms. McDermott to send this off to council, either to require Mr. DeAndrea to get the appraisal or accept the bid. I didn't want to be in a position of making a decision that really belongs to county council if he does an appraisal, it may come in less than what he's actually offering, based on the location of the property and the status of the property. I think it's on a big slope. So I will now turn this over to Councilwoman McDermott.
Thank you. Okay, so the property that Mr. DeAndrea is bidding on is 48.331 acres. It's located in Hollenbach Township, and he's offering $20,000. Now the assessed value of it is $77,300. We know that's not worth it. The property is currently landlocked. However, it's worth something to someone who has adjoining property. And Mr. DeAndrea, with two other people, do have adjoining property. It appears that there are hunting cabins on there, but it's I don't know if it's really on his property or not, but we did take a look at that. Mr. DeAndrea did say that he would apply for clean and green. I did check with the assessor's office, and they said that the value would be $2,600 and not $1,000. So it's a little bit more than what he expected, a little bit more for the tax rolls, but just wanted to let you know about that. And the current procedure does state that the proposed purchaser must provide a real estate appraisal for purchases over $10,000. And as Ms. Prokomo just said, you do have the possibility that it could be worth less than that. And so, maybe that would change the offer. However, I did check with my husband, the expert on appraisals, and he thought that the land would be worth at least $1,000 per acre. I did try to do some research on the property. This has been on the county's, books for forever, a very, very long time. And maybe a title search in lieu of an appraisal would be more beneficial. I know Elite Revenue was asked to do a title search last year, and I think Dan Reese was going to check back with them to see what they found out. But it's just because it's so old, it's just they're not finding too much out about it. Now, again, it's been, owned by the county for a long time, and the real estate committee was given the task to get rid of excess county property, so that's what we're trying to do. What I would like to ask council is just to consider maybe a counter offer, and I'm not really sure how we would do that, so I would just ask the solicitor's office if that's something that can be done, and if we can consider that.
Yes, of course it can be done. I just I didn't feel that the Office of Law should take a position without getting any input from council. So council can email me any input that they want, and I or Attorney Mikowski, who was assisting on this, we'll reach out to Mr. DeAndrea.
Does anybody from council have any questions or any opinion on that?
Yes, actually.
I just have one, Leanne, if I could.
Well, go ahead.
I think Ms. Houck, you had the floor first, then Mr. Haas.
Go ahead, Linda.
Okay. Yeah, I have a couple things. First of all, obviously, the application is on not the correct process, which is the form and the process for properties that are assessed less than $25,000. And I thought we were establishing a procedure for properties assessed at greater than $25,000. But here we are again.
Yes.
So, I really think that needs to be a priority. Okay. To handle that kind of eventuality, and here's the perfect case. And the procedure here does say that we need a real estate appraisal. I can understand that he might feel that the property doesn't have a whole lot of value for someone else, but realistically, that's his opinion. And I would like to see an appraisal. I also recall a time when we used to get proposals like this, and they would include a map, and they would include maybe photographs of the property so that council had an idea of what we were talking about. And I mean, nothing like that is here. There's nothing concrete here. So I, for one, would first like to have an actual real estate appraisal on the property to see what it's worth. The fact that he's planning, and kudos to him for being upfront and saying he's going to put it in clean and green, but that's going to significantly decrease anything that council or that the county would have gotten up from the property. So I really do think that we need to start with an appraisal.
Mr. Haas?
Yeah, I was going to ask a lot of the same questions Linda asked, and just with the title search, we don't have a history of the property, no idea when it came into the county possession.
Well, the only thing that it says on the tax card is it's a generic or dummy date that they use for something that was really, really old, and that was 1960. But again, that's not a realistic date that the county got it. They think that it could be 100 years that they got it, maybe 1920s, something, you know, back in the Depression when people were losing land, the county commissioners took over at that point. Again, Elite is was asked to do a title search, so we have to just check back with them to see what they found out. That was last year. But I called so many different departments and so many different people, and nobody really has any concrete information on it. Even, well, with the GIS, I guess they were able to pull up the map of it, and I could ask them to try to get that to us so that we could at least see that. But they did say it was an odd-shaped property. No roads leading to it, but again, you know, anybody that has an adjoining property, that's not going to be a problem to be landlocked. I did check with the township, Hollenbeck Township. I put calls into a couple different people and didn't get any real definite answers back, again, because it's going back so many years. But I don't mind doing any more research on it, and I can certainly do that and see about getting at least the map. But it's going to be up to council to decide if you want an appraisal or do you want to see what the title search says before an appraisal would be done. But I mean, that's a procedure right now. And I know, you know, Ms. Houck, you did mention that. And I did say for the next real estate committee meeting, we need to come up with a draft of what the new procedure is going to be and work with it from there, because we can't just keep pushing it off. So we are in the process of doing that right now. I believe we're having a meeting this week regarding that. So we will get that done.
And we started the discussion at the last real estate committee meeting. And just for a point of information, a lot of these properties that are in the name of the county, how they were transferred to the county decades and centuries ago, it really are the docketing of those deeds. It wasn't quite as precise as the method that we use now.
Mm-hmm. Let me pose this question to council. Does anybody feel that we do not need an appraisal?
Well, Sheila was just going to ask a question.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Sheila.
I'm not familiar with a lot of real estate deals, but could you explain clean and green?
It's when a property is, well, I mean, Ronaldo, maybe you could say it better than I can, but if it's not going to be used for commercial use and it's 10 acres or more, they can apply for the clean and green through the assessor's office.
Yes.
And so it just comes up with a value that's a lot less, obviously. You know, $2,600 on a 48 acre parcel is, you know, considerably a lot less. However, you know, getting it on the tax rolls at all is, you know, beneficial. It's just a matter of what we would find an acceptable offer.
Okay. I just did not know anything.
There is
Somebody else is trying to get on.
Yep, Mr. McGinley, it's Walter.
Go ahead, Mr. Griffith.
Ms. McDermott, I think one of the things that we need to look at is putting these properties up for bid and not do the RFP process on this type of thing. We saw what happened with Wilkes-Barre City with their bid for the Myers High School and the Coughlin High School. We need to come get an appraisal. I'm in favor of putting it on the agenda for a vote for council to approve an appraisal. I think that would be very beneficial for the committee. But I think we need to do, when we're trying to get rid of properties as big as this one, which is, you know, substantial. I mean, this is 48 acres, and I agree with Ms. Crocomo that this thing looks like the last sale date was 1960. I mean, my goodness, I can't even imagine how they might have docketed this whole process. So I certainly understand the hurdles that the committee's going through, but I think we need to get an appraisal and then put it up for bid. You know, put a substantial, say, so if the property's worth $500,000, we'll say, okay, we're going to put it up for bid, and the lowest we'll take is $100,000. Anything over that or whatever, and put it up for bid, because I don't think this process is working very well. Not only on this, but on most properties that we get rid of in the county. I think they should be done by bid. So I would be certainly in favor of an appraisal. I think this price is really low for a property success at 77,000. You know, so.
So just to be clear, do you want the county to do the appraisal, or the potential purchaser, or both?
Oh no, I would strongly think that the county should do their own appraisal.
Well, okay, so the current process says that the purchaser, the proposed purchaser, will provide a real estate appraisal. And this is a different process to get rid of these county-owned properties, Mr. Griffith. It's a different process than we would do with some other county-owned property, because these are properties that are usually specific, like in this case, to people who have adjoining properties. And again, they might not have a value to someone else, but we do want to get fair market value for it. And I believe fair market value is also in that procedure somewhere.
Well, that's what we have to determine. You're right.
Right.
We have to determine the fair market value.
Right. So the question is, do we follow the process that we already have for this, which is that we have a proposed purchaser. He's already advertised it. In my opinion, he needs to get an appraisal to follow through with the rest of that process. And we need to see a map of the property, just so we have an idea of what we're talking about in concrete terms. And then, we can go forward from there. But once he gets the appraisal, if he's not happy with that price, he would certainly have the ability to keep negotiating with the county. And that's also in the process that's already existing. I think putting properties out for RFPs is a separate issue from the process that's in place for these properties right here. But again, this procedure was really put in place for those smaller properties. I don't really think anybody envisioned using this process for a 40-acre property. I think that it was for some of those properties that might have been like a little sliver of land that was next to somebody's driveway or something like that, the smaller nuisance properties. And that's why I really think we do have to have that procedure for a larger parcel.
Well, I think then the question comes back, does anybody not want an appraisal? It sounds to me like from the comments that have been shared here, appraisal seems to be a term that we would like to see. And according to the procedure, it would fall back to the potential bidder in this particular case.
Well,
and we can get the map, I think, right, Mr. McDermott? I think we can get the map from so that would satisfy that also.
The only concern I have with the appraisal is Linda's saying having him pay for the appraisal, and help me understand this, because I may be not understanding clearly, is if we're asking him to pay for the appraisal, and I'm sure Ms. McDermott knows how much that appraisal is going to cost. It's not going to be cheap to do an appraisal of 48 acres of ground. So if they're going to do an appraisal of 48 acres of ground and he's paying for it, and we decide that he comes back with the price of whatever he wants, and we say, sorry, we don't want to sell it to you, that's not fair for him to spend that money for the appraisal, right?
Well, I think that's the point of good faith bargaining with him. And, the procedure does say that we can keep negotiating with him. The whole idea is that we're all entering into it in good faith. He's not trying to take advantage of the county, and the county's not trying to take advantage of him. But at the same time, it's the same issue that we had with the juvenile detention center, where people were saying, oh, that land's worth a whole lot more money than that, or that land's worth nothing. The only way to really know what the fair market value is to get an appraisal. And we can sell it, for whatever we agree to sell it for, but he's the one who's interested in purchasing it. At the present time, he's already paid money to advertise it. So he's already put that in place. And if the next step and the other step in the process that's already here is to get an appraisal, and he wants to buy the property, that he signed a paper saying he understood what that procedure was. And the procedure does itemize an appraisal that he would provide. So I don't think it's unreasonable to follow the procedure that he signed off on, with the understanding that if it comes back and he wants to purchase it at fair market value, then we'll all proceed in that direction.
Well, I just, if I'm going to sell something to somebody, I usually get the price of what it's worth before I do that. And I understand what we're saying with this situation. And if council doesn't come to an agreement that says we're going to accept his price, then, he's out the money for the appraisal and he still doesn't have the land. And we now know what the land is worth
Well,
by his
correct.
appraisal. So,
But
and
that-
I don't think that's fair I think we should have the appraisal and we should know what the land is worth and he can give us a price on it. We can go to him and say, no, we have an appraisal and here's
That
how
would
much
be-
it is.
That would be one way to do it. However, that's not what's laid out in the procedure.
Yeah, but I think the procedure is backwards.
But talking about real estate appraisals, that was another thing that we did discuss in the real estate committee meeting.
Right.
If we should have real estate appraisals done on certain parcels, maybe not all of the ones that are county owned, but certain ones, and that
Sure.
was discussion. So nothing was made there. But if that's the case, we would have to put out an RFP for appraisers, real estate appraisers.
I agree, and I think if we're selling something, even in our own personal lives, we know what the thing is worth before we sell it. And I think we have this process all backwards, and I don't know, I really don't know why we are doing it this way, but I think we should know what the property is worth. We should put it up for bid and let somebody bid on it, and we could accept the bid or not. Not they do all the work, and then we say, no, we don't want it, and then they're out the money. So,
Process, I think Ms. McDermott's going to continue to work on and probably, hopefully have a draft. But Ms. Hauk is correct. That's the procedure we have in place. So I think at this point in time, Ms. Croco and Ms. McDermott, pass that information along to whomever you have to let that person know that that's something that's being requested.
Okay, I will do that. Thank you.
All right, thank
Okay. This number 5 came as a result from Mr. Griffith requesting procedure or some kind of process regarding a $5 vehicle registration fee. As we all know, this year, 2021, at the end of the year, the $5 vehicle registration fee for Luzerne County would be finished. And beginning with the first day of 2022, that $5 fee would not be subject on your registration. There are, I guess, registrations where people are taking 2-year registrations, and currently, if I understand this correctly, the $5 fee for 2022 is being charged for those people. So that's why it's on the agenda. Mr. Griffith, you want to comment? I think you're muted, Mr. Griffith. You're muted.
There we
Still-
go. Thank you very much. No, the question that I have on this $5 fee is first of all, I think this should be PennDOT's burden, not the county's. I think we have passed an ordinance back in 2020 that took this fee away, and that therefore PennDOT should not be even putting it on the bill for 2022 for anybody who's renewing a 2-year registration. That's one question that I have. But the biggest question that I have is, so if somebody's renewing their license plate in 2020, well, they actually start renewing in October of 2020 because their renewals are sent out to them 2 months in advance. So if they're renewing their plates in October of 2020, they send in their registration and they deduct the $5 from the 2-year registration because you have the option of picking a 2-year registration or one. So instead of sending the state $84, they send the state $79. The state will return that application because it's not the right amount of money. And that's a concern for me because it is the right amount of money because there is no ordinance in place for PennDOT to charge the $5 fee for 2022. But the public cannot send that registration in that way. It will be returned for insufficient funds by PennDOT, and they will not renew your registration. You will have to submit the entire amount, and then we have to go through all the work to replace that $5 for somebody. Now, we have people in this county who renewed their registration back as far as October or November of last year that now have to wait all the way until 2022 to get their $5 back. We have yet to put anything on our website anywhere to tell people to renew only 1 year. We have yet to put an ad in the newspaper. We have yet to notify people other than the newspaper stories from the press, Mr. Mark from the Citizens Voice particularly, who wrote a story about it. I think in this situation, we should have taken out a full-page ad or some ad in the newspaper as soon as we found out. We should have notified the people to do a 1-year registration fee renewal. And how is PennDOT going to notify us of the people who paid the double fee, so we don't end up getting letters from people saying, "Oh yeah, I paid for a 2-year registration," and they didn't, and now we're sending $5 to people that didn't pay for the 2-year registration. I just think this whole process is messed up. I would love to see Mr. Shiflett be here on this meeting so we could discuss this with him with PennDOT. I think PennDOT's responsible for this, not the county, and this is an awful lot of work.
There is an announcement on the website.
No, there's an announcement as a county alert that went out today. And
It's
that's
on the
not
website. It's on the website.
Yeah, it just went out today.
Under county alert, but you can see it on the website.
It just went out today. Yeah.
Well,
Correct. It was posted today.
Ms.
Right.
Corfo, I think you have maybe spoken to the PennDOT people, is correct?
I did. That was posted today, and we're in the process of going to advertise a message in the newspaper as well. PennDOT is required, because our ordinance says that it terminates at the end of December 31st of 2021, to collect the $5 fee for 2022, because PennDOT cannot split the registration. It's similar to what Councilman Griffith said when you apply for the registration of your vehicle. You have two choices: register for 1 year or register for 2 years. And PennDOT does not have the setup that they can separate that second year. And that just doesn't apply to Luzerne County. That applies to any county that left that program prior to the expiration of the program, which is what we are doing. I did get in touch with Attorney Sharp, and he assured me that PennDOT is going to provide us with a comprehensive list of the individuals, and we'll be able to reach out to those individuals. We'll put a certain amount of money in escrow to repay those costs to the individuals who have paid the $5 for 2022. And I know that the engineering department is working with Mr. Shiflett. I just want council to know that if you look at the statute that created this program, it's the legislature, they were very precise on how the program should be initiated and how it should begin and how it should be processed. What is not in this statute is how the program should end should a county not want to participate until PennDOT says the program is finished, and that's part of the problem and part of the quagmire that not only the county is in, but PennDOT is in. So as it stands right now, we are going to get a comprehensive list from PennDOT, and there will be an advertisement in the local newspapers encouraging vehicle owners to register their vehicle for only 2021 for 1 year.
Mr. McGinley, I just go.
Who's speaking?
Steve Urban.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say, maybe for the future, should any legislation like this ever come up, and it is amazing, in the modern day technology age, that PennDOT can't separate out a fee, based on statutes that are passed by state government and the legislative bodies there in Harrisburg. It's simply amazing, though, that government is its own creator of certain messes, especially when we charge people money. You can't separate something simply in a computer system. It's a travesty of government. I think we need to talk to our local delegation to fix these types of things. I think as a county, should we ever decide to put in a fee in the future and it's in statute, we need to do our diligence as well on not only implementing, but terminating, should we terminate something, so we don't end up in this situation again, in the future. It's just some food for thought as just good governance, diligence. I look at certain things as how our county does things. We don't follow through all the way. We have a lot of professionals that work for us, and they're just not thinking outside of the box here, and all the different areas where we sort of have those gotcha moments. Like I said before, none of us want to be combative. It's just government and the people that represent the government and public officials just make it too easy for some of us to basically throw that low-hanging fruit at each other.
Someone else was trying to speak? Anyone else?
Yeah, Mr. McGinley, if I could add one more thing.
Go ahead.
This issue with the ability for us to get a printout from PennDOT, we should be getting that monthly and sending these checks back to the people on their. There's people that paid this $5 fee last year. They should be getting their refund. They shouldn't have to wait till 2022 to get that $5 back. They paid a 2-year registration fee for something that they didn't get. We should be processing them now for those people. And every month thereafter, we should process that fee for anybody who did a 2-year registration. They should be able to get their $5 back. And that way they don't have to wait till 2022. Why doesn't PennDOT send us that report now for the people that did a 2-year registration already?
And they might, and Attorney Sharp has been very helpful, and I will reach out to him and ask them if we can get a current list of people who have already paid into 2022, and then we can start working on it.
Yeah, that would be helpful, because my fears, there's some $5 doesn't mean a lot to some people, but some people are just, they'll just be aggravated by the fact that they paid the $5 and now they have to wait a whole year to get it back. So if we could do our work, I don't know how much extra work that's going to be for the county. I'm sure it's going to be monumental for somebody in either Laura Beers in the treasurer's office or somebody in budget and finance is going to have to tick and tie these numbers together to make sure we send the $5 to the right person. And I just don't, the amount of work that's going to take, I think is going to be a lot. And I don't think it's fair to PennDOT put that burden on the county because of their ability to not be prepared for something of this nature.
Well,
Let's see what that list looks like, huh?
Right, and the other counties that left the program earlier had to go through the same, went through the same process that we have to go through. But I will reach out to him to try to get a list, and then we'll proceed from there.
Thank you. And down to number 6.
Right, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Sneed.
Before we go on.
Yep, go ahead.
I'm actually very upset over this. Like, they knew what the deal was. They presented us a deal. They were told. Their representative was there that night. If they don't match, we're out. They were contacted by the Office of Law that we're out. And like Mr. Urban said, with technology today, are you telling me you couldn't split that up? That's ridiculous.
Okay, Mr. Sneed, I think we heard your comments there. Thank you. The number 6 is as a result of a email from Mr. Haas. And I think everybody this week is probably, anyone who read the paper this week is probably very aware of the proposal from PennDOT in regards to some bridges being pulled. And in Luzerne County, I believe there's 2 bridges that would be affected by the proposed. Let's see. Next pick 3 bridges. And over the Lehigh River, correct? So,
Yeah,
Mr. Haas, you
Mr.
want
Chair,
to speak to that?
Thank you for putting that on the agenda. I really appreciate that. And thanks to Manager Pedri for bringing this to our group attention. I had no idea. I hadn't seen the papers beforehand. Evidently this was in the works for a couple days. It was the news. But really, look at this. I put on here because I would hope that we could perhaps remand this to the legislative committee. We could draft a letter just to say, enough. Stop it. You know, we could debate this for a long time, why this is just so bad, but I just came up with just a few. When somebody wrote in the email message, I mean, here we are, you know, we give these tax abatements around here, and then we're going to turn this business away by taxing the infrastructure that they're going to use. It's going to drive traffic patterns to other state and local roads, you know, and this disproportionately affects people in South County. I'm sure Bob's equally upset about this, the $5 fee, because
Correct,
folks
Harry.
are
Write the letter.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, again, we could debate this for a while. I'm asking, really, Mr. Chair, if we could have council's blessing, maybe take a look at this week, get on a voting session for next week. I don't fault PennDOT at all. I fault the elected leadership in Harrisburg. I got to apologize to Governor Wolf. I don't normally do that, but it wasn't his fault because thanks to Representative Mallory. No, it's the second time. I liked his stance about not taking gifts. Otherwise, he's straight up terrible. But anyway, these 2 times he's good. But nonetheless.
Harry, I want to get that on record.
No, don't worry. It'll be down there. You know, around.
Harry,
No
I think
problem.
that's
You can, Bob.
Harry, that's a recommendation. That's a great recommendation for your committee to review this and come up with a draft letter. If you get that draft letter back to us prior to the Thursday before the scheduled meeting,
Thursday
we can put
before.
it on the voting session for council's approval and move from there. Okay.
Absolutely. So Walter and Steve, I'll be in touch with you very soon.
Okay.
We'll put that together, and Sharon will get that on public.
Sounds
So
good.
thank you, everybody.
Okay, we're moving over to council committees. And Mr. Vo, you are on for Act 13, and you want to do the county cares at the same time. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you. Act 13, no update. County cares. We had a meeting last night. I encourage everyone to go take a listen. We got a lot of great things going on. So it was only about 30-minute meeting. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Perry.
Yes, we had our last ABC meeting Wednesday, February 16th. We interviewed 6 candidates, and again, 6 great candidates, and that's always an enjoyable part of being on the ABC is to talk to everybody that's willing to put their time in for free for the county. We also discussed 2 main points, I thought. One was Linda's 6 questions that she put together. Everybody knows what they were. We have a copy of it. We discussed them in length at the ABC meeting, and we decided to, of course, approve a letter and to send these questions out to all the ABCs. They were sent out via email and hard copy the day after. That would be the 17th. And we're awaiting some a return. The date to return is March 5th. I'll have a report for you concerning all these questions, and they were great questions. I thank you, Linda, so very much. And we'll have some answers as to what's going on in the ABCs in terms of any compensation, et cetera, that may or may not be going on. So we'll have the report for you the next meeting. I believe that's the 9th. And also, we also discussed some training sessions. Steve Urban, thank you for your concern and your thinking outside the box. You brought this to my attention a few months ago, I believe, that perhaps we should do some training on the Sunshine Law and the Robert's Rules of Order for all the ABCs. So we did do that. We talked about it. We added 3 more topics. They are right to know, ethics code, ethics form, etc. And the Office of Law, and give them credit, they are taking this to heart. They're going to come up with some training programs, and we hope to develop a platform somewhere down the line that, and we have to do it right, that we can offer these training programs with a click on our website. So that's where we're headed down into the future. And I thank the Office of Law, I thank Linda, and I thank Steve for their help and trying to make the county better. I appreciate it. I don't have another meeting scheduled, but we will have one for the next month or 2.
Chris, can I jump in real quick?
Yes, Steve.
Just regarding one more topic too, is as far as ABCs, just to make sure that the Office of Law makes a copy or gives a copy of maybe the respective law or statutes that pertain to those ABCs as well. You know, like they have an area of responsibility that might be guided by certain state statutes that those particular individuals may need to know. I'm thinking, you know, maybe in the future, like, you know, when we became council members, we got a binder, you know, of the charter, the admin code, personnel code, and maybe to offer a binder of all the pertinent information that each one of those members of their respective ABCs might need to have to kind of guide them in principle. And also by statute as well.
Councilman Urban, we are going to do that, and at the ABC committee meeting, I did say that any council member who would like to assist us or aid us or give us any ideas to work with, we will be more than happy to work with any one of you.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think right now, Mr. Perry and Ms. Corcoran, some of the committees and boards do have like a orientation packet that they use for their new members, but certainly that's something maybe as a starting point, and then you can add the other important points as needed. Going down to budget, finance, and audit, we haven't had a meeting recently, but the Mr. Sweat's last year was closed out on Friday, the 12th of February, I believe. The audit group has been working with our budget and finance group, and they started to request information, and there is a portal available to see what information has been collected and sent forward, and we'll continue that process, and we'll keep you updated as far as where we're moving on the audit schedule. Mr. Haas, legislative.
So we will meet sometime within the next 10 days or so, and we'll get you some reports and get a draft for council to sign.
Thank you. Ms. McDermott?
Yes. Okay, so we just had our meeting last Tuesday, February 16th. We discussed the county-owned property in Butler Township. So that's something we have a big packet put together, and will be passed on to council at some point. We did discuss what I already mentioned, putting an RFP out for real estate appraisers, again, for county-owned properties, if we want to do that. And also to try to put out an RFP for a land surveyor for the Butler Township property, because that's a big property and it would need to be subdivided. I don't have another meeting scheduled yet. And obviously the biggest thing is the procedures. And I did say that we want to have something in place for the next meeting. So we are going to work on the procedures.
Thank you. Ms. Hauk, the election inquiry committee's on sabbatical right now, but you have two other ones there.
Right. Well, nothing on strategic initiatives. Nothing on strategic initiatives right now. Okay. But code review, we met last Thursday, and our next meeting is next Thursday. We are almost done with the divisions and hope to have something for council to look at pretty soon. But we're, of course, waiting on some information about elections, the Bureau of Elections, and also there are a couple items in the Division of Operations that we were going to take another look at next Thursday.
Thank you. Mr. Haas, blighted properties?
Nothing to report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. County Affairs we covered. Mr. Haas, you are now the Riverfront Parks Committee person. I know I have not received anything. If I ever do, I will forward that to you. I don't know if you've received anything in the interim. Usually springtime before they start gearing up for their different activities. Nothing on the Plains Township TIF in a long time. Mr. McDermott, the potential merger between.
Yes, I did put a call out and also an email out waiting to hear back from the Lackawanna County Commissioners to set up at least a preliminary meeting, because we have to come up with a scope of work and set up a list of upcoming meetings that we would be having. So just waiting to hear back from them.
Thank you. We're now open for members of the public.
Mr. Chairman, this is Mark Rabo speaking.
Go ahead, Mr. Rabo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, with regards to what happened with PennDOT in this whole toll, or the $5 fee, excuse me, if you remember, Mr. Chair, back in 2018 when the $5 fee was being considered, I said that at the time that the only reason this $5 fee is being promoted or pushed by Governor Wolf at the time was because he was giving out the remains of the $2 million of leftover federal DOT money that was remaining from the state budget. So he used that as a carrot to the other counties that didn't have the $5 fee to adopt the $5 fee for the counties to get a piece of that for their bridge repair. I said at that time that the $2 million was only going to be a one-time thing, one-time deal, and then it was going to be gone away because they weren't going to get any additional money from the federal DOT. I was right then, and sometimes I hate being proven right, but I was right, proven right again. So in the words of, most of the attorneys, I rest my case as far as that goes.
Thank you.
All right. As far as the ABCs go, I totally agree with Councilman Urban's statement with regards to that the respective board members that are appointed should get the corresponding state statutes when they're nominated and appointed to those boards. I've been saying that since 2014-15 when the charter review was going on at the time. I think that needs to be done expeditiously. And I'm glad to see the vice chairman, the chairman of the ABC committee pursuing that. Also, I would like to, I don't like to be the bearer of bad news, but on the news, I saw that Dr. Michael Burry, who foresaw the housing crash of 2009, made a stark warning that hyperinflation was going to come. And, I take whatever he says seriously because he predicted the housing crash. So I would ask for the council to consider moving forward because Councilwoman Seidman cited as far as with the debt, that sometimes the debt, it's not advantageous to pay down. If there's a foreseeing of a hyperinflation event on the horizon, I think it would be prudent, Mr. Chairman, for the Budget and Finance Director and for management to look into seeing if what happens if there's an event of hyperinflation and that the bond rates go skyrocketing up. How will the county pay for the debt service and for the retirement obligations for the pension? I think that needs to be explored by the Audit Committee and the Retirement Board. Thank you very much.
Mr. Rabo. Other members of the public? Others members of the public? Excuse me, somebody try to speak.
Mr. Dwyer from Marksville.
Mr. Dwyer, go ahead.
Yes, I'd like to comment on the real estate transaction for the, I believe it was about a 40-acre piece of property. There was a lot of people commenting on it, and I don't remember exactly who said what, so I'm just going to put it out there this way. I would agree with those members. It seems like most any large property that's non-residential needs an appraisal. It needs to be a certified appraisal, the same type of appraisal you have to use when you appeal a tax assessment to the board in Luzerne County. It can't just be a real estate appraisal. It has to be a certified, licensed appraisal. That's on the buyer. It's no different when anyone else goes to buy a house. You put in an offer, you go get an appraisal. If it doesn't come back, you have the option to walk away. You eat the appraisal. That's just the way it is. There should be a list of certified appraisers by the county, and you have to use somebody off of that list. That way we can ensure they're independent and we're going to get the number that's realistic. If the buyer decides not to buy the property at that point in time, well, then he just walks, and the cost of the appraisal is on him. I've bought in several properties, not necessarily off the county, but they weren't listed for sale. People just had them sitting around, and I inquired about them, and I went and got an appraisal and decided if I wanted to proceed. Why should it be any different for anyone buying an asset the county owns? If you're coming to us and you want to buy it, fine, go get an appraisal. Here's our list of certified appraisals. These are the only ones you can use. There's not just one on there. There'll be a couple. You pay the freight, and, we see the number. If that's not what you want to pay, this is America. You don't have to go any further. Thanks.
Thank you. Other members of the public?
Mr. Chairman, Jason Carr.
Mr. Carr, go ahead.
I was inquiring to see if the manager or council will consider giving or pushing back the face period for Luzerne County taxes this year, considering that we're still in a pandemic as well. Judge Vogue, back in December, I believe, put a moratorium on any civil court cases, separate and aside from monetary evictions. I believe about 50% of all properties in Luzerne County are rental properties. And that's probably something that would help a lot of people. As well, I would like to ask County Council to consider amending the Home Rule Charter. If we look at the landscape through the end of the year, if Mr. Griffith, which I believe he will, win the controller seat, and Harry and Linda having to leave due to time, their 8 years on council, there'll be a tremendous void, which they have kept the taxpayers in mind over those last 8 years. The understanding that Harry and Linda and Walter have of the Home Rule Charter is extraordinary and impressive, and it's going to be a huge loss to the common citizen as well as the common taxpayer. They've defended us very well with their time on council, and I believe that looking at it, there's no comparison between their level of expertise, knowledge, and understanding of what actually happens in the county compared to some others on council. There's no comparison. As well as looking at the candidates that are running to replace them, I'm actually very concerned about it. And lastly, I would like to say, Mr. Pedri just acknowledged that he uses the fees paid by credit card for the county taxes as a revenue source. I believe Mr. Griffith asked him last year not to do that. He also uses the 1% penalty on Luzerne County taxes as a revenue source. Would it be a better idea to use those fees and put in a reserve automatically instead of profiting off the taxpayers with penalties? As well, it's very simple. On an annual basis, I receive hundreds of thousands of dollars electronically where the person sending and myself receiving do not occur any fees. So it is possible for the county to allow taxes to be paid electronically without incurring a fee or having to charge a fee.
Thank you.
So I would ask Mr. Pedri to please concentrate on getting that corrected quickly.
Other members of the public?
Mr. Manta.
Go ahead, Mr. Manta.
Okay, I listened to the comments about the fee for the $5. Walter brought up a good thing. He said the government, which is PennDOT, they can't separate the 2 years. Well, you know what? I hate to be a stickler on fees. The Wyoming Valley Sanitary Authority can't separate their fee either, so that they could pay the sanitary bill or pay the rainwater tax. That's still a thorn in my side, and all the things that are going on, that's still held high in my expectations that someday somebody's going to get enough stones to fight those people, because it's really hurting the taxpayers. I mean, the things that were brought up tonight were really great, because of the fact that when you sell a property, you should have to split the difference with someone that is buying the property. You know, you don't have to, but to be a better citizen or to be a better county, it would be nice to have them say, well, look, we'll split the fee for you. We'll split the fee with you for the appraisal. So that way you get your answer of what that 48 acres is worth, because I know it's worth more than what the county's going to sell it for. I mean, 48 acres. I paid 30 years ago, I paid $6,000 an acre. And when I got it appraised, the people I was buying it from, they were good enough to say, look, we'll pay half for the appraisal, you pay half for the appraisal. And that's an equitable thing. And as far as
Mr. Manta. Anyone else from the public? If not, we'll set the motion to adjourn, and we will be going to a short executive session. We have a motion to adjourn.
Presented.
So moved.
Mr. Snee and Ms. Saban.
Yes.
All in favor, indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition, any abstentions? None heard, motion carries. Jared, can you shut this meeting off and provide a separate invitation for the executive group?
Yep, I just sent the invite out, so it's good to go.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night.